Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So this session is about factuality and grounding. So my name is Louis Liu. I'm product manager for Gemini. I also work on grounding and RAG. So my colleague, Tom, he's going to get on the stage later to talk a little bit more on the RAG products that we're working on. So we have a packed agenda today. So I'm going to talk a little bit on why we think grounding is important, why factuality matters to a lot of users, what are some motivations behind the scene, why we developed something very specific in this area. I'm going to introduce a new way about doing grounding with Google Search. And this is one of the key lights yesterday in the keynotes. And then my colleague Tom going to talk about different choices of RAGs that you can use and pick from Vertex AI. And we're going to also introduce you the way how to do the grounding with your own data with Vertex AI Search. And then we also have some cool API about check grounding so you can use it in your applications. So let's dive right in. Let's talk about grounding factuality. So grounding is absolutely essential for generative AI applications. So you've probably seen many papers from Google DeepMind about different kind of approaches, techniques we're introducing on the model level, on the tool level to improve the factuality of the performance of the model. Right? We work very closely with these DeepMind folks. We literally just sit together, right, day by day to kind of take those novel approach and techniques, experiment this quickly and test them quickly and figure out what are the best thing we can bring to the market and bring to the Vertex. So a lot of us know that model is based on probability, right, most of the time. And these models today, large language models, right, getting so well, work so well that it's really hard for users and enterprises to figure out, hey, this is generated by a computer or this is actually curated by a human. Right? This is why we find a lot of challenges with enterprises to deploy these models to millions of users, right? Because trust is the key here. So we have been kind of not acknowledging that this is actually industry-wide challenge, and we're working really hard to crack it. So when we're looking at grounding, there are three key aspects to it. One is improve factuality, right? Improve the model responses and quality. The second is access up-to-date information. And third one is connect an answer to its source, right? By providing citations or URLs so the developers actually gain more trust with their users. We try to cover all these three topics throughout the session. You also see that we are actually building product around these three principles so we can make the model response more trustworthy, helpful, and factual. So Vertex AI has a suite of solutions about grounding. So we're happy to introduce you a new way of doing grounding with public knowledge with Google Search. And when you're looking at proprietary data, your confidential kind of sensitive business data, right, you can use our RAG solutions of Vertex AI Search to build your customized solution on top. So we're going to go through each one of those blocks in detail throughout the session. So let me talk about grounding with Google Search, a new way of doing grounding with public knowledge. So we all know LLMs can make up things and harm user trust, right? One of the things we often ask is, hey, what's the weather like, right? Or you can say, hey, who is the winner of Oscar this year, right? We know the model have this knowledge cutoff because it takes a snapshot of the knowledge at a particular time. So the model are either going to pounce, say I don't know, or the model going to give you something that is back in 2023. So this is just one example, right? When models start making up facts, it hurt user trust, and then we see developers are very hesitant to actually deploy this for many other use cases. So we're happy to say that today we are bringing grounding with Google Search to Gemini family. We believe that Google Search is one of the most trusted sources of factual information. By grounding our state-of-the-art model with Google Search, we can really combine the power of Google AI with deep understanding of world knowledge. The integration is very simple, right? For developers, you can simply go to our UI, our AI studio, and there's a toggle called enable grounding, right? When you enable this feature, by default, we're going to give you access to Google Search as the source. And when you send a request to our LLM, we're going to give you a grounded response together with the citation source to help you reduce hallucination, also help end users to verify these, confirm these evidence. Also, I want to emphasize that this is a feature that we make available out of a box. It's not a feature in the UI, right? So we're making this available for all developers that you can access this feature through API. So in our testing of the feature, we see it helps a lot with developers to build trust with their communities, with their users, by giving the model access to evolving network of knowledges that reflect the real-world changes. The LLM response is going to also come with more explainable kind of citations and URLs, right? So the user can really click and figure out what's going on. One of the benefits of using Google Search sometimes, right? We know it gives you different perspective. Unlike LLMs, they give you a very direct answer, right? A or B. But when you do Google Search, you actually see a lot of results in one single page, and you can actually pick the right information that fits your needs. So we think this is a really powerful thing that we bring into the LLM, so it can bring these different perspectives, right, to the answer of the LLM. And also for the users, right, they can actually stay within their app. Right? They don't have to go to a different app or to Google Search, open their browser to do a search, and then go back to their original journey. So I use this example, right? Who wins Oscar for Best Actress this year? In the ungrounded Gemini, what we give you today is, hey, in 2023, this is the winner. When we turn on the grounding, we're going to tell you Emma Stone is the winner, and we'll give you the citation URL for that. So we're very happy that we are working closely with a few pilot customers in this space. So Uber Eats is developing their new experience and new interactions with Google Search grounding. So I am a heavy user of Uber Eats. I order a lot of food because very busy with the conference and Gemini launch. So one of the things I always have a trouble with is I got so tired with a particular food that I keep ordering, and I would say, hey, let's try something new. Right? But then when I look at new menus, new restaurants, I don't know what those foods are. And I literally have to go outside the app, right, to go to Google Search and search for that food and looking at some pictures before I can understand what I'm ordering. So with this, we actually enable a new experience for the users that you can look at descriptions of these food, looking at the pictures without ever leaving that app experience. Another partner we're working very closely with is Quora. It's a very cool platform to allow developers build and share their chatbot. So one of the things they're making available to their users is building these chatbots that connect to the internet, which in this case is Google Search grounded Gemini. So developers can build bots for different tailored use cases, right? So on the screen, what you're looking at is they're building a chatbot just for sports. So these are just two examples we're working on with the customer in the early stage. And I hope those are inspiring examples. And we believe with grounding with Google Search, you can do a lot more than that. So with that, I'm going to head over to my colleague, Tom, to talk about RAG.
For joining us today. Yes, I want to start a bit with talking about your options that you have for running your own RAG on Vertex. Actually, we have multiple options for you available. So if we look at the top with Vertex AI Search, we have a fully managed solution. So you can use Vertex AI Search without having to worry about things like indexing and ranking and how I should chunk and parse my documents. Which LLM should I call? This is all built directly into Vertex AI Search. We're also seeing customers, for example, yesterday Charles Schwab was talking about it, that they're using the search capabilities of Vertex AI Search, but then build their own answer generation capabilities and their own custom logic on top. The next layer I want to talk about is a set of core components in RAG and search that we're offering. So yesterday in a session we were talking about like various different components that we have for like document understanding, document parsing, the embeddings API, ranking API, and also vector search. And specifically for grounding, we think the grounded generation API and also the check grounding API can be like extremely important. I'm going to talk about them in just the next section. And then you also have to think about how do I actually orchestrate this? Like where does my RAG application actually run? And for this we have two offerings that we're announcing this week. So one is Vertex AI Reasoning Engine, which is a system designed for running your own RAG and agent workflows. And the second one is Vertex AI RAG API that's specifically targeting the RAG application for customers who want to build it themselves. So starting with Reasoning Engine. So with Reasoning Engine, you can deploy your own LangChain code very easily on Vertex to implement RAG applications, like simpler RAG applications, all the way to more complex agent-like workflows for things like customer support. So basically, you define the functions, you define the tools in the workflow, and then Reasoning Engine, together with an LLM, will actually execute that LangChain code. So Reasoning Engine then, if you look at the code example on the right-hand side, makes it very easy for you to actually deploy your LangChain agent, right? You just give it the agent, you specify a few of the dependencies, and then you can basically run the query immediately. So it's very easy to get started. So for customers who are already familiar with like the LangChain components, LangChain framework, I think this is like a very good way to start. And this is now launching this week in public preview for everyone to try. The next one I want to talk about is the RAG API on Vertex. So this is really aimed at customers who want to build like a RAG application. So you can customize the settings that are important to make your RAG application work, right? So this includes like the chunk size, what's the chunk overlap, what's the embedding model that I want to use, where do I deploy it, etc. And it's also like a very scalable application. So we have seen that it can scale across like millions and millions of documents like very easily. You can use a larger set of Llama index connectors to get data actually into the system. So you can make the data integration very, very easily. And you can see also like that to get started on RAG API, it's very, very simple to actually get started. Right? You just select the corpus, so you set a few simple configuration parameters, and then you can already run the RAG API. And if you want to do more customizations, of course, the RAG API lets you do that. The next section I want to talk about the grounded generation API. So with the grounded generation API, we make it very simple for you to create grounded answers that is really factual based on the information that you provide. So it's very simple. You provide basically the instructions in the query that we all know as like an LLM prompt. You specify the sources that you want to query. You can give it custom facts, custom information that you have retrieved. You set the configuration, and you get a grounded answers, including citation with a grounding score. This is now available in private preview. And for the grounded generation API, we are using a fine-tuned Gemini model that is specifically aimed at optimizing the performance for the grounding use case. And that helps reduce hallucination and provide citations much more reliably via that particular model. We make it very easy for you to add your own sources to it. So today you can give it text chunks that you retrieved. They could have come from like vector search, or you can connect it to a Vertex AI search and data store. We're also working on making it very easy for you to add like your own retrieval engines, like your own search engines to it. It could be like an Elasticsearch engine or like a SQL database. As part of the grounded generation API, we've also worked very hard to make the prompt to search query generation work very, very easily and very optimized and improved specifically for the grounding use case. So let's look at it like a very specific example. I hope you can read it from afar. So on the left, we can see the API request. You're specifying like the question, This also has the ability to do like a multi-turn support with multiple questions from the user. And then you specify different sources that you want to use. So there could be text chunks that you have retrieved, or it can be a Vertex AI search data store. And then on the right-hand side, you can see the answer that is being generated, talking about here about like how the global economy is doing. You can see a grounding score, tells you how grounded the answer is in the given facts. And then for each of the different sentences in the answer, you can also get a citation to help the user connect the answer to the underlying sources and to allow the user dig deeper into those sources and verify the claims that were made in the answer. The last section I want to talk about check grounding. So when we look at the traditional RAG workflow, basically it's pretty simple, right? You retrieve and rank some information that gives you some facts, you put them into a prompt, an answer generation component like a large language model, you have an answer. Like that's basically RAG. We don't think RAG should actually stop there, and that's why we are introducing the check grounding API, because it's really important to understand whether for the generated answer, is it actually grounded in the given facts, and can I attribute to the underlying sources? So can I generate citations? So check grounding is now available in public preview, and what it does is basically you provide it with a given answer and the underlying facts, and then it checks for each of the claims that were given in the answer whether those claims in the answer are actually based on the given facts. So you can see it supports up to 400,000 tokens. It's like inputs. It also supports like very large fact bases and context windows. The key use cases we are seeing with our customers is to use it either like in an online flow to generate citations or highlight potentially ungrounded claims to the user. Actually, in the Gemini app, previously known as Bard, this was like known as like the double check feature. That's actually a grounding basically in the web search corpus. So that's a very analogous use case here. Another use case that we also use a lot internally for like model development is like offline validation use case. Right, so if you think about model tuning, you want to do prompt engineering, model configuration, you want to test your RAG application end to end, then the grounding, the factuality of the answer is like a really important aspect for you to optimize. And with the check grounding API, you can run this kind of evaluation completely automated end to end. We also have experimental support for detecting contradictions, so not just for unsupported claims, but also for contradictions, and then also generating citations for specific facts that are contradicting with a given claim. Right, so here I wanted to look at like a more specific example. So here, like in my given prompt, I asked the question, okay, tell me about the movie Inception, and then I provided like some facts to the model. I generate an answer here, but what I did is I actually, like you can see it in green and in red, I added some red pieces here that are actually incorrect statements that I added to test check grounding. So now with check grounding, what I do is I give it the set of facts on the left-hand side together with the answer, and the response then tells me directly for each of the given facts whether that's actually, for each of the given claims, whether it's actually grounded in a given fact or not. So here I can see it correctly identified like the Inception 1.5 Oscars and made more than 950 million revenue at the box office, and identifies very specifically that those are incorrect claims. And you can also see that the overall grounding score is like 54, so it actually found a considerable amount of unsupported claims in this response. So we think this is very useful for customers who want to build their own RAG applications and make sure to build a more trustworthy experience for the end user, connecting them to the sources and also highlighting potentially ungrounded or incorrect statements in the LLM response. Yeah, so to wrap it up for today, so we talked about a wide variety of different grounding solutions that we're offering on Vertex. There's first now grounding available with Google Gemini based on Google Search, which is now available in public preview. And then specifically for grounding in private data, we have the grounded generation API, which is in private preview. We have RAG orchestration, 2 offerings there. The RAG API specifically for the RAG use case, and then reasoning engine to deploy your Llama, your LangChain agents very easily on Vertex, now available in public preview. And last but not least, check grounding to help you build more grounded, more factual experiences for you when you're doing your RAG development. So thank you, everyone, and I also appreciate any feedback you want to provide for this session.